I've never been non-camera shy. I just don't like being on camera. With these wrinkles around my mouth and above my eyes, and I look kind of crazy. And yeah, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm all flat-faced, and I feel like shit. And this video is totally not going to be edited, so sorry for the swearing. My heart's heavy, and I don't know where this is going to end up on the internet or the interwebs or whatever you want to call it, but kind of wanted to talk about the last year and a half, because I feel like somebody, I don't know, I'm not asking for pity, I'm not asking for a bunch of, heartfelt comments or anything like that. So, hi. I'm not gonna use names. I'm gonna think of a different name and go from there. So, I met my boyfriend on a holiday, and I was homeless at the time and really not rational thinking. And he fed me steak and wanted to treat me like a princess. And being homeless and being hungry and being cold and wet and miserable, I took an opportunity that I wish I never had. And he's probably gonna find this and text me a lot of things and whatnot, but I don't care. But anyways, so we had a pretty rocky start. I mean, there was a lot of arguing and a lot of red flags. But I fell in love with him, and he fell in love with me, and it was just this heartfelt, mushy relationship like any person would want in their life. Well, shortly, me and Greg, let's call him Greg, got pregnant, and we weren't always on the same page. There was a lot of disagreeing, there was a lot of fighting and arguing and yelling and not being equipped, and which I should have left. There's a lot of woulda, shouldas, couldas that I didn't do, and I should have saw the red flags, but I couldn't go back to my family, and there's a certain reason why, and I'll talk about that in another video. And I was sort of stuck in the rock and a hard place. And when it comes to, so I live in BC, which is a part of Canada that relies on a really messed up social services thing, and we have this this housing that is for mothers and families, and they're low income, and I get a certain income every month due to the ministry and the government of BC. And I fell through the cracks heavily through that, but I still went to parenting groups and a bunch of other things. I went to parenting groups, and they got a parental nurse on board, and I knew I had some struggles with my disability in the past, so I was making sure that I was going to doctors regularly. I had a healthy pregnancy. I was eating fruits and teas and, trying to stay off any sort of medication or Tylenol or even the slightest cold medication. I was feeling on top of the world, other than being allergic to cats and, having that issue. And, I had a beautiful pregnancy other than all the BS with my partner, Greg. So, baby came, healthy 8 pounds, 9 ounces, beautiful bouncing baby boy. I named him June after the month. He was born in February. MCFD, which is Child Protective Services, and social worker came in and took my son for equivalent of 2 days. I got him back, but we had to have all these safety plan meetings and everything, and she deemed me too violent and too mentally unstable to take care of my own son. That destroyed my self-confidence, my self-worth, and everything else that ends up with it. So I went home, and then the mental health team came in and assessed me and diagnosed me right there on the spot. And all I was trying to do with Greg and me was I was trying to, be a family, because I knew one day I wouldn't have the same support. I wouldn't have, support workers through mental health coming there every single day, cleaning up, going take me to the grocery store. And I already have the worst time with attachment. And I said, if we're gonna be a normal functioning family within society, we're gonna pull up our big boy pants and not be reliant on people that are gonna come into our life and help us out and get everything settled, and then one day leave us in a hot mess, not knowing what we're gonna do. We had 2 grocery stores, not even 15 minutes apart from our house. We could have grabbed an ergo and we could have gone, and we could have lived a happy, normal life without all this other BS. I do have mental illness and I'm not afraid to ask for help when I need it, but when you're constantly shoving it down my throat, saying that I can't be a mom shortly after that, you stop believing in yourself. You stop saying that I can do this, and then you add a T and an apostrophe. And that's how I felt for the longest time. When I went for 2.5-hour walks because I needed to clear my head, and Greg would sleep all day long and spend all night playing video games with headphones in, and smoking a bunch of dope, a bunch of weed, a bunch of marijuana, and being high as fuck. And, June, had to deal with that. I mean, we fought over the simplest things, such as a monitor. Like, I'm sorry, it's as easy as plugging in a monitor so I can wake up. There's this magical thing called tag teaming. You tag team me off, you wake me up, we take turns, whether or not that means you have to go to bed at 3 and wake up at 11. That's a lot better than sleeping through your whole son's day and let me deal with the washing, the cleaning, the feeding myself, feeding my son, trying to go to groups, trying to keep up, trying to go to counseling, trying to do all these steps, because apparently to them I'm not handling it well. I'm trying to, but, and the fact that Craig was, not helping me. He wasn't a father in my eyes, He was a guy that gamed all night, did a bunch of Tylenol, and, fucking smoked weed and got really high and never took care of his son. And, he only took care of June, he only took care of June when it was like from 4 o'clock onwards, or when I was out of the house, or, like when it was necessarily convenient for Greg. And so all these other crap just piled on, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but after a while it just piled on and piled on. I was alone during the day. I had to be quiet in the house. I couldn't breastfeed my son because I couldn't do that out in public in front of Greg, and a bunch of other BS, with mental health and workers and counseling. And then the day of the fight, I asked Greg not to smoke in the house anymore, and he launched me off the bed, and there was not a separation warning, but a no contact issued on me, June, and the house. And I knew that my son wasn't getting inadequate care, so I knew that if I breached it by either holding my son or going to the house, I would go to jail for 3 years. Which was really hard and shameful on me, but I did it every single day. The cops slowly found out, and I slowly risked my reputation outside of jail. He did 3 rounds of cocaine in front of a child. It doesn't matter if you're outside, downstairs, around a block, at a pub, but you're still coming home, you're still trying to take care of my child on the influence of cocaine. And I said, that's absolutely not appropriate, first of all, and not acceptable. So I laid my hands on him, and because I laid my hands on Greg, the cops came and put handcuffs on me and removed me because I was quote-unquote violent with my ex-partner. That shook me. I went to jail for 3 days for breaking a breach. On a weekend, on that Monday, I went into the lake. We have a lake here where I live, like a huge one. It's the third largest lake in Canada. And I sat there and I thought my life was over. I had all this other shit piling on top of me. I wasn't allowed in the house. I had to lie about homelessness. I was starving. I didn't have the proper nutrition. And I was fighting for the life of my son when social services and, you know, the MCFD, you know, the social worker, you know, kept putting my son at risk. You know, he wasn't a good father. He was sunshines and roses against authority, but bullshit towards me. And the more I told the truth about him, the more I would get physically. He would put his hands on me, and it was just a whirlwind. And on October 28th of 2018, June was 8 months and 1 day old, and he died. He passed away. He's not with us anymore. Oh, his birthday's coming up, and I feel like such a failure, you know, and I can't wrap my head around it. It's like I don't have like post-traumatic stress disorder. I have like present stress disorder because I am scared of being not listened. I'm scared of not being validated. I'm scared of getting hurt. I'm scared of, you know, I want my son. You know, I want a chance. You know, I fell through so many cracks and so many holes, and I fought for everything, and I didn't handle it appropriately. But I mean, once you have so much bullshit and you're getting hurt by your partner and your son's getting abused and they're putting your kid at risk, and it's RCMP, it's the social worker, it's the system, it's all these other things and all these other columns, you know, piling up on top of one human. That's me. I think you start to lose your sanity. And I kept questioning myself. You know, when I'm questioning myself even here. You know, the more truth I told about Greg, the more I got hurt. And the more they didn't listen. Because I was too mentally unstable and too violent to take care of my son. I went to jail. You know, when my son was getting abused. You know, he was... And, you know, I question myself every single day. Like, how many times a day did my son sleep if Greg was sleeping all day? You know, how many times was the Jolly Jumper a babysitter? You know, how many times did, you know, Greg wake up and take care of his child? I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, but, you know, give a woman a chance. You know, what defines you at 16 doesn't make you who you are at 22. So, peace. Hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know.